Hello, welcome back to a new video. For today's video, it's part 2 of my outlining with me series. It's actually part 4 of the series, but it's part 2 of the outline with me. So if you haven't watched the previous episodes, I can just recap them for you a little bit. So the first video was a brainstorm with me. I wrote down everything that I knew of the book and everything that I wanted to be in it, like scenes or plot points or like everything like that, because I knew so much already. So I brainstormed it and then I put it into this document that I have right here. I numbered the events so that I knew in which order everything would happen, and then I color coordinated it. So we have yellow, which is a murder mystery, and then we have blue, which is one of my main character's inner conflicts, pink for romance, and purple for the other main character. So that was the first video, and then the second video was getting to know my characters, because I have two main characters, one female main character and one male main character, and so I wrote down everything I knew about them in character sheets and answered their goals, fears, what stood in their way to achieve their goals and their dream life, like what they wanted in life. And then I also used Artbreeder to create my characters, and that was a big mistake. You know, it turned out great. Here's my two main characters and the side characters that are really important in the story, but like Artbreeder was a nightmare, so don't recommend that. And then for last week's video, it was the first part in the outline with me. So in that video I outlined the first half of the book, from the hook and the inciting incident, the first chapter, up until the midpoint plot twists, and that was really fun, and I hope that you enjoyed it if you watched it. Otherwise I can link that in one of these corners, and I will of course link all the videos down below in a playlist, so you can watch them. But for today's video, I'm going to outline the second half of the book. And I have already begun outlining a couple of things, or a lot of things actually, because I was, you know, when I was on a roll, I outlined the last couple of chapters before the midpoint plot twist in the last video, which was only half an hour ago for me. So I was on a roll, so I wrote the plot twist and the following chapters. I fully outlined 2 of the chapters, but then I have written down 4 or 5 more chapters after that, which is just one line, so I won't be going into full detail and outlining those chapters now. But I also talked about in the last video a investigation list, so a timeline of the events regarding the investigation. So I added to that timeline, and I now have all the chapters that is going to be the post-midpoint action hero. So when the characters have been flipped on their head from the midpoint plot twist, and what's the new plan for my characters going forward. So they are gathering all their evidence and they have a plan, like they are essentially sure of who the killer is, because if you don't know, I'm writing a murder mystery set in a fantasy setting and it's also a lot of romance. They have a plan going forward, and then there's a second pinch point which I'm using as one of the big plot twists. So there isn't like a pinch point when it comes to a brush of authority, which is one of the plot points in mystery. I think that the plot twist being where it is right now is good, because that makes one of my characters, it makes her on edge, like really on edge, because everything that she knew is essentially a lie. That will be great going into the supposed victory, because now she thinks that she knows everything, and so everything is great. They have a plan. Essentially they have a plan to nail down the murderer and reveal everything to the public. And then the disaster hit. I already have an event for the disaster and I know what's going to happen here, and then there's just a lot of confrontation going on, a lot of dark things going on. But let's rewind. Let's think about what I'm going to focus on for the following couple of days. Post-midpoint action hero. But I essentially know every plot beat that is going to happen, and then I just need to figure out how that is going to actually play out. Like, how are the events going to affect the characters and how are they going to react to each event? I have a rough outline of how it's going to be, but I need to be a little bit more detailed. That has been working for me so far, like the first half of the book. I have been outlining in great detail. The outline is now almost 7,000 words. So that's the first update that I have for you guys. Now I am going to not keep writing or outlining, because I have done a lot of that already today. I have done my fair share of outlining for today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna catch up on some authortube videos and just chill. Just have a great time now before I need to eat something and I need to go to school. Then later in the evening I'm gonna read a friend of mine's new fantasy book, and I'm really excited about it. So that's the first update of this video. And already, let me know in the comments if you like these kinds of videos. I feel like it's a lot different from my earlier outline with me because it is more vlog style than usual, and last week's video was definitely not what it used to be because I was sick with COVID. Let me know in the comments what you like more, writing vlog type outlining or sit down type outlining. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next clip when I continue to outline this damn book. Hello and welcome to a different day. It's actually February 1st today, it's Tuesday, and I just want to have a quick talk about some things before I eat lunch and then go to school. But I am just now sitting here with my computer and working away on my outline, just filling out more details about the chapters that I actually did yesterday. I have written down up until chapter 48, and then I have written some things on 49. I have written some things on the second pinch point and the third plot twist. I just need to update you that I have begun reading Ninth House. If you don't know, or if you haven't watched the previous episodes, my goal was to read 3 mystery thriller books to help me understand the art of writing mystery thriller. So I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and now Ninth House by Lee Verdugo. I am this much into the book. I'm on chapter 5, now the food's ready. But I really enjoyed it so far, and I have read like 1 chapter a day. There is a murder and there is an investigation going on, and at the same time that it's a look into the society and the magic. So all of these 3 books in some ways really fit into what I'm doing. I'm taking the magical and the investigation part from this, and the investigation part from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the kind of setup of a mystery thriller from Agatha Christie, you know, the queen of mystery thriller. I just wanted to update you on this, but I'm gonna go eat something, and then when I come back from school I'm probably going to beta read, and maybe I will update you then, but I don't know. You guys, I am almost done with the outline. I'm almost done with the outline. I want to show you, but I don't want to spoil things. Look, I'm here. I have 2 beats left. I feel like you're really up close right now. I believe I have 2 beats left to do, and I'm on the climactic confrontation, and I only have, I think, 1 chapter on this. And here is my, I don't really know if it's a problem or not, but I have, like I've talked about, 2 main characters. My female main character and my male main character, and they are part of the romance. I wanted to have both perspectives on the romantic relationship between them, because in book 2 I only have from Eden's point of view, and her love interest is not introduced until like a 3rd or 4th way through the book. So it isn't that much focus on the romance, not as much as this is. It's still very focused on the romance, like that's my favorite part about it, almost. Second to favorite part. My problem is that I have a lot of chapters about my female main character's climactic confrontation. Throughout this whole book, it is really, she is the moment, like she is the main character. My male main character, he has internal conflict as well, but it is not as dramatic. It is very much so linked to their romantic relationship, his conflict. My female main character, her internal conflict is linked with like everything that happens in the book. So the murder mystery, for example. My male main character doesn't really have to do anything. He doesn't have to do with that really, but he has more to do with their romantic relationship, and we can see him struggling with that. Like I don't know if that will satisfy the reader. I don't really know. So right now I have 1 chapter planned on the climactic confrontation, because in the end of this book, like we have the murder mystery and we have the internal conflict, and now in the climactic confrontation that has to do with the internal conflict, but a confrontation is also about the murder mystery, but that happens before the climactic confrontation. So I have gone through, I don't think I have updated you guys, but the whole 3rd act is essentially done. So I began the 3rd act with supposed victory, like everything is great, they have solved the mystery and it's all fun and games now, but then the disaster hits. When I began outlining this book, this is the thing that I love about outlining. I had no clue what was going to happen in the 3rd act. And you can see it here in I'm looking at my brainstorming, you can't see it, but I can. The 3rd act is only 8 points, but up until then it was like 14 points the first half. So the first half is 14 points. I think more actually, because I put like 10.1, 10.2, and so there's a lot of things happening. And so I had a lot of ideas for the first half, but then I did not know what was going to happen, like on a scene level. I did not know what was going to happen. But here's the thing about outlining. As soon as you begin outlining, or for me, I'm just working my way through it, and I get idea after idea, and I did not know that these chapters were going to be in here until I actually got to that point and were like, okay, looking back on this, especially with the murder mystery, I had to go through every step of the investigation myself, and then I knew how the confrontation with the murderer was going to go. You know, the first confrontation with the murderer that is happening like before the final confrontation. Those chapters just flowed really easily, or the outline of those chapters, I have not written anything. The outline of those chapters flowed so well. I love them. Like, I didn't think that I would enjoy the resolution part of this book because I don't really know how to do it well, but outlining them was really fun. On the disaster where everything goes to shit, and I think like a part of Alexa Dunn's video, I talked about this in the first outline with me. If you haven't watched that, I can link that in one of these corners and also in the description below. But she talked about like in the disaster, it's essentially like danger. The character are in danger, or they are going into a situation thinking that they are fine and that they know who's the murderer and they know how to get them and everything. But then something happens and they are put in a situation, or getting themselves into situations that are really dangerous. And so the disaster and the dark moment, I'm using Abby Emmons' 3-act story structure, so these plot beats and the name of them are not the same as, for example, say The Cat Writes a Novel. I think that's the name of the writing book that has like the 3-act story structure that everybody talks about. I haven't read it. But the dark moment was also really fun to write, and as well as the aha moment. So it was just a great time, and I have now also color coordinated it all up until the point where I'm at now. So I'm going to write the climactic confrontation, and I have only one chapter of this, and that beat is the only one chapter, and then the victory is 2 chapters, and then I'm thinking on doing like a calm 3rd chapter, and it's going to focus on the romance. I did this for God's Rotten Ruin, and I also did this for Project Full Moon. Just having that resolutional part about the romance, especially because when I really like fantasy romances, I tend to love these kinds of chapters in the end, where all the fantasy stuff has already, we put that behind us in the resolution, or like the victory part. And then in the resolution, it's just fluff, really. So I'm going to do that and write like a cute scene that has to do with food, because my main character loves to cook. It's going to be really fun. But then I have also written here an epilogue from a side character's point of view, and that side character is going to be the main character in the next book. Now done with it, I now have a total of 61 chapters, and I think this is going to be a lesson to at least 50. For example, the first 2 chapters in the whole freaking outline, they are probably going to be 1 chapter, and then going forward that will probably be the case for the other chapters as well, or some other chapters as well. But I just wrote the epilogue, and I must say that it was really long. I wrote kind of a long scene, and I wrote a lot of internal dialogue or monologue into it, like the internal conflict and how the events that happened just before that not in the epilogue, but the last chapters, and the conflict, how that really affected the side character, and that is really showed in the epilogue. And so that was really fun. So now I give myself a pat on the back, and I get to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla as a reward. Hello everyone, it's Friday the 4th of February, and today I'm closing the vlog, the last clip in this series type thing of me brainstorming and then outlining my next book. It has been a wild ride, and I have some notes on this notepad here, what I'm going to talk about for this little update thing. And so the first thing, how did it go? And it went well. Honestly, this whole experience has just reminded me of how much I actually love outlining books and planning books and brainstorming and just coming up with the ideas, transforming a thought and an idea and a theme of a story, or just having two characters and then building a story and just seeing how it grows and seeing the potential of it. I love that kind of stuff. That's the thing that I love most about writing, honestly. Just the ideas and the worlds and the characters, and I know I'm not the only one thinking this, and if you feel like me, please comment below and so we can be friends. So in conclusion, it went well. I was able to brainstorm, and in this brainstorming process, rather in the outlining process, I was able to understand how to hopefully successfully write a murder mystery or a suspense or thriller novel, and to weave that together with the romance. It was a really fun experience and experiment, seeing how I could outline that kind of a book. And this is my fourth time outlining a whole book, and every time it changes. The first time I did this, I used the 3 act story structure that I've been using in this as well, but I was not as thorough and I didn't know the structure that well, and you know, the beats of the story and the rhythm of the story and the structure of it, I did not know that well back then. And this time what I did differently was that I outlined every single chapter in the book, like every single scene I wrote down. And of course smaller scenes, like I don't know, maybe I will have a scene about eating or getting dressed or meeting someone in the corridor. I haven't written that out, but I have essentially written out all the important scenes in my book. And that was something I have never done before. The only time that I have done that kind of is when I have written short stories, because then it's such a short amount of pages that I need to get the story down, so I need to have it mapped out in my head, like every single scene and how it's going to go. But I really enjoy outlining this way and just taking my time with it and not doing it in 1 to 2 days, which I did for Gods and Ruin. I also did it for Project Full Moon. I need more time than that, and this, I can actually check that right now. How long this actually took me. It took me almost 4 weeks of outlining non-stop. I was basically doing something every single day, and it took me 4 weeks. And this time was just necessary for me to go back to my roots and just remember what I love about writing. But now I'm gonna take a needed break from writing and outlining and planning. And I'm actually really excited about it because I'm going to beta read my friend's new fantasy novel, and I'm really excited about that. I'm almost halfway through now and it's so good. So I'm gonna do that, and then I have some books to read, which I'm gonna talk about next. But I'm also going to play some more Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I'm just obsessed still. Then I'm just gonna quick talk about my favorite part about this outlining process, and I have to say, the actual outlining. I found getting to know the characters quite difficult, but as soon as I got into outlining the book and knowing the beats and how my characters would fit into the structure, I got to know my characters more. And I know that when I start writing the actual book, I will get to know my characters even more than I already know them. And those small little quirks of like body language or things that they do, that will come to me later. Like, I don't know now if my main character is going to bite his thumb or if he has some of those tendencies, I don't know. But my favorite part was outlining and outlining the chapters and just feeling in control. Is that a problem? Am I the problem? I am the problem, I know this. Just feeling like I can do this again. I know that when I got into writing Gods and Ruin, I had or was it Project Full Moon? I don't know. I had a difficult time actually gaining strength to actually start the book, because I had just finished a book and I didn't know if I could actually write another book. Like, was it in me? Is this something that I want to do in the future? Can I do it in the future? But I don't really have that now, and I think a big part of that is getting the approval of a publisher. But on the other hand, I will probably get anxiety about this, and maybe that will come later. But my favorite part was the outlining, and I liked the brainstorming process, but that was just writing down all the ideas that I already have. But now I can actually write down like new scenes and how those ideas would play out in the book. So that was really fun. But now I'm gonna talk about books. So 9th house, still trying to learn the craft of writing a murder mystery, and I'm using this as part of it, like I've talked about in this whole series. I am on page 114, so I have passed the 100 mark, and I'm on chapter 7. And as you can see here, maybe almost a third way through the book. Really enjoying it. It's quite a slow read, and I find myself having to reread some of the sentences a lot of times. Really like the whole magical and paranormal part of it. And I also really enjoy the characters, actually. Alex Stern, or Galaxy Stern is her real name. I really like her. I really like Darlington, and I love his name so much. Because of the language in this book, I'm not taking away that much from a learning perspective. I did that with And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I did that with those books, but this is more kind of a look at how other people have done it. I really want to read this book anyway, so it's also a read for enjoyment. There's not much that have happened at the point where I am. A body has been found and we are still getting to know the characters, and we are still getting to know the language, because we go back and forth between Alex now and Alex a couple of months ago or a year ago, when she was first introduced to the secret societies and the magic. And so we get to learn it through her and through Darlington's perspective, but in the interactions with Alex. So it's good. I don't really know what to say about it. But then I am this much into Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, and I didn't know that I only have less than 100 pages left. Holy shit. But Conversations with Friends, I did not know, but I now know, but I did not know this before, that I enjoy reading about unhealthy romantic relationships and kind of miserable love stories that will probably not end well. I did not know this. I love this book so far. I just find myself so engrossed in the story and just not emotionally connected with it, but I still feel like it's it's rooted in my heart now. And with Normal People, it was the same kind of experience. I absolutely loved that, even though it was a very unhealthy romantic story. I related to it a lot, and it didn't quite end as many probably hoped it would, but it was a perfect ending for me, I feel like. So I love that story. I gave it 5 stars, I think. And I think this will be a 5-star as well, just because I'm enjoying it so much. And I feel like a lot of people, when talking about Sally Rooney, they either love Conversations with Friends and hate Normal People, or they love Normal People and hate Conversations with Friends, or they think that this is not as good. But I think this is just as good. It's just a different story, and I just feel like Sally Rooney writes these kinds of situations and these kinds of relationships really well, and I love her stuff. But yeah, just a reading update. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like and a comment below and let me know what you thought of this kind of series and what you thought of the parts. Like, do you want it all mixed in one video, like one big video, or do you like when I separate into topics and you can watch whatever you feel like? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe, because I post a new video every week, every Thursday, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!